headliner this evening is John McDonald. John is the President, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer of ClearObject, Indiana's leading Internet of Things system integrator and Inc. magazine's fastest growing IT services company in Indiana for 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. ClearObject is the winner of the 2016 and 2017 Entrepreneur Magazine 360, the 2016 and 2017 Deloitte Fast 500 in Technology, the 2016 and 2017 CRN Next Gen 250. He's the chairman of the Technology and Innovation Council and a board member of the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. He's president of the Venture Club of Indiana, a board member of TechPoint, a member of the IBM Partner World Global Business Partner Advisory. He's a member of the Advisory Council for Hamilton and Southeastern Schools, a member of the Workforce Alignment Council of Ivy Tech, a member of the Indiana Industrial Advisory Council for Computer Information Technology, and the Dean's Council for Purdue Polytechnic Institute at Purdue University. Help me welcome our headliner this evening, John McDonald.
Thank you. That introduction was courtesy of my mother. All right, so I want you to imagine yourself driving down the road in a car, and your car notices that you're not keeping your lane as effective as you did about an hour ago. And it's 3 in the morning, and it thinks you might be tired. So it also knows that 2 exits up is a 24-hour Starbucks and that you like double chai lattes. So on the car radio comes a message, would you like a double chai latte, yes or no? And if you say yes, it beams your payment information ahead to the Starbucks, orders it for you, so you can go through the drive-thru, picking up the coffee, and the car thus having saved its own life as well as yours. Now that sounds very Star Trek-ish if you think about it for a minute, but I can tell you with great confidence that every car that's come off the product line in the last 5 years has the capability to do what I just said. And why is that? There's been an explosion in software in everyday devices. The F-22 Raptor has 1.7 million lines of software code in it. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner, almost 7 million lines of software code, but the 2018 Mercedes-Benz S-Class 550 has 20 million lines of software code in it, 14 million of which are in the radio alone. That explosion of software creates the ability to collect an immense amount of data. And think about all the data that is necessary to be collected to understand that you need coffee. Spatial awareness, driver behavior patterns, payment information, customer preferences, what you did last evening. All this information has to be collected to be understood. And that data, all of that data, unlocks an entirely new business model that is not a futuristic statement at all, but it's already happening. I'll make this observation to you. The world's biggest hospitality company is not Hilton, it's Airbnb, and they don't own any hotels. The world's largest retailer is Alibaba, and they have no stores. The world's largest distributor of content, Facebook, makes no content. The world's largest broadcaster, Netflix, has no TV studios and no broadcast towers, and the world's largest car rental company, Uber, owns no cars. What do they own? The answer is data. Uber knows very little about you. They know that you're on a street corner and that they know you need to go from A to B, and they know your credit card information. Arguably, they know even less about their drivers. But as a result of this little bit of data, they can build a multi-billion-dollar business. What if they knew more? So what is happening is we have a back to the future moment happening. The very beginning of computing was marked by these large mainframes where we stored all the data and information and connected to them with dumb terminals that are really stupid. They did nothing other than to connect to that mainframe. But we got very excited about the idea of putting information in the hands of people. The whole history of the internet has been about an internet of people. It's been about connecting you as a human to the internet. We say we carry around all of human knowledge in our pocket, but reality is this device is actually quite stupid. My body has 5 senses in it. This device has 12, all of which are designed to augment me as an endpoint to the internet and make me smarter. But in that first era of computing, we had these large mainframe devices with these dumb terminals that connected to them. And then we started distributing out to the edge all of this information and the data in form of PCs. But there were some problems that we never really solved with this idea that we then tried to solve by re-centralizing everything again onto the new form of the mainframe, the cloud, and connecting to it with a new form of dumb terminal, this cell phone. But this explosion of data and information that's happening at the edge marks another shift again. And what's occurring is a redistribution of all that information back out. so that now the role of the cloud is changing from the place where all of the data goes to the place where only selected data goes to be understood and interpreted. Understood and interpreted, and unlocking an entirely new business model that I will assert to you is actually the beginning of the fourth major shift in how our global economy is organized, which sounds like an audacious statement, but let me sort of back it up. The first major shift in our economy was agrarian, organized farming. Prior to organized farming, everybody had to farm in order to be able to eat. But then we had farmers that did it for us, so we could go to a marketplace and buy their products. The next shift was organized making things, or factories. You make things so I don't have to. Before that, everybody had to make everything that they used, tables, bowls, chairs, everything, and then they were manufactured for you. The third major shift happened relatively recently, after World War II, when we got container ships, interstate highways, jet air transport, a revolution in how we move things across the planet. But this idea of building businesses based on data alone actually is the beginning of the fourth major shift in our economy. And let me illustrate that through an example. There are 5 levels of autonomous vehicles. Level 1 is cruise control. Level 2, adaptive cruise control. Level 3 is automatic lane keeping, like take your hands off the car and it will keep in the lane as it travels down the road in some high-end vehicles today. Level 4 is a car that can be pre-programmed to drive itself from one location to another without driver input and fail safely, like the road is closed to pull over and stop. And level 5 has no steering wheel. Anybody care to guess where we're at right now in this sort of 4-level stage? Level 4, Ford Motor Company, just Google Ford 2021. Ford 2021 has vowed that they, as well as General Motors and others, will have a level 4 autonomous vehicle in the marketplace in the 2021 model year. That's a car that can be pre-programmed to drive from one location to another without driver input and fail safely. So if you think that we're not getting autonomous vehicles, you're mistaken. And so what happens in this world? Well, I'll tell you a few things. The first thing is you need a lot less roads. The reason we keep a distance between ourselves and cars is because we can only react so quickly as humans, but if they're being controlled by computers, we don't need to keep any distance at all in between them. In fact, any IndyCar driver will tell you they're a lot more fuel efficient if you don't. We also don't need to run them at 65 miles an hour. We could run them at 200 miles an hour, which means you could go to Chicago for lunch. Apply that idea to delivering products. Can anybody in the front see what's kind of popping out of the top of this vehicle right here? It's a drone. And so this is an actual, not a mock-up, it's an actual autonomous UPS vehicle, and out of the top is coming a drone. That's how, by the way, we'll be using drones. They won't be beaming things across the entire city of Indianapolis. This thing will roll up to the end of your street, and it'll be used to ferry a box. So you order a t-shirt online, 15 minutes later this vehicle shows up, drones the box, drops it on your doorstep. You open the box, you put the t-shirt on, it's the wrong size. So you put it back in the box. 15 minutes later, another vehicle comes out, picks up the old box, puts a new one on your driveway. And in that world, folks, I'll be quite honest with you, you don't need stores. And if you don't think that this is already happening, think about all the retail things that have already closed. More than 500 stores have gone bankrupt in the last 6 months. It's already occurring. Apply that idea to hospitals. What's one of the main reasons why we have hospitals? To get access to equipment that's difficult to move and people that know how to use it. Well, what if when it's time for me to get an MRI, this vehicle shows up in front of my house, I punch a code in the door, and I go inside, nobody inside, sit down on the table, it says, "Hold still, Mr. McDonald." Okay, 15 minutes later, we're going to send out a vehicle that has a brace that we want you to put on there, and call this number and we'll tell you how to put it on. In that world, you don't need hospitals. Apply that idea to autonomous RVs. Seems sort of frivolous, right? Autonomous RVs. But what if I wanted to go to Chicago tonight for that meeting? Very kind of a pain in the ass. Pack a bag, take it out to my car, drive to Chicago, wait 4 hours, haul it up the staircase, spin the wheel. But what if instead my hotel room came to get me? And I checked into it tonight on my front curb, and it drove me to Chicago. In that world, I don't need Hilton. In that world, I don't need Hertz. In that world, I don't need Southwest Airlines. In fact, what we'll realize very shortly is that the unsafe element in driving is humans. How many of you in this room have had somebody that's that you know has either been killed or hurt in an automobile accident? Everybody. All those are preventable, right? And so at some point we will decide that we're going to actually ban driving on public roads unless you're in automated mode. This will happen somewhere in the backwoods of Montana, maybe from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., and then in all freeways, and then in all controlled highways, and we'll be removing humans from the driving process. And here's why we want to do that. The average human spends 101 minutes a week driving. Average human, 101 minutes a day commuting. over the course of a 61-year lifespan as of having a driver's license, that's a total of 37,932 hours you will spend before you die driving a vehicle watching road reflectors zip by. There are 221 million registered drivers in America, and when you multiply that out, that's about 8.4 trillion hours that are spent watching road reflectors zip by, and we are about to get all that time back. It is, yes, it is the biggest one-time leap in human productivity ever. And to be fair, there are people that will squander that time. Often I'm asked, was this going to be like WALL-E, that we're all going to be carted around drinking sodas? Well, some people will be carted around drinking sodas, but some people will very likely apply that idea and that time to solving some of the problems that we've not been able to solve yet as humanity, like cancer. And folks, that's just cars. If you apply this idea to absolutely every device that you touch in your everyday life, you only begin to start to understand and scratch the surface of what is about to happen to all of us as we connect all of these devices to the internet and they start sending data about us, betraying where we're at and helping to provide goods and services in the context of where we are. And that's what the Internet of Things is all about, and that's what's about to happen to all of us. Thanks for your time.